So here's a wild thought for you. What if the next huge foundational layer of the internet wasn't tucked away in some giant data center, but was actually a digital copy of our own planet? Today, we are going deep into a really fascinating analogy, comparing a virtual world like Earth 2 to the absolute backbone of the modern web, Amazon Web Services.
Okay, let's just jump right into this statement, because it's a big one. It really flips the script on how we think about digital infrastructure. We're so used to hearing about the cloud and abstract servers, but this suggests a future where digital value and logic are literally tied to physical spots on a map.
Now, to really get our heads around this comparison, we've got to start with a solid baseline. So, before we dive into what's new and different, let's do a quick refresher on the powerful foundation that's already running our digital lives today.
This is the world you and I live in right now. I mean, every single time you stream a movie, or use an app on your phone, or just browse a website, you're tapping into cloud infrastructure. It's the powerful but totally invisible engine room that makes the whole Web 2 economy go.
And this slide really breaks down what that backbone gives us. Services like AWS offer up the core building blocks. We're talking servers, databases, and just raw computing power. Think of it like this. It's the fundamental, rentable real estate that underpins a huge chunk of the internet, everything from Netflix to your banking app.
All right, now that we're all grounded in the cloud, let's totally shift our perspective. We're going to move from the abstract world of servers to the geographical world and explore this brand new concept. The world itself has a kind of programmable infrastructure.
And this, right here, is the key idea. Instead of your data just living on some random server somewhere in a data center, imagine it being digitally anchored to a specific set of GPS coordinates. This spatial infrastructure creates a whole new digital layer that's mapped, one-to-one, right onto our physical reality.
And this is exactly how a platform like Earth 2 is built to work. It all starts with a digital grid of the entire planet. But here's the thing, each little tile on this grid isn't just a picture. Nope, it's a programmable container that can hold metadata, value, and rules about ownership. So you see the difference? With AWS, the main currency is compute time, but here, the fundamental unit of value is the location itself.
So how do these two worlds, one built on computation and the other on location, actually connect? Well, let's dig in and see how they can function as these parallel systems, just operating on completely different, but weirdly similar layers of the internet.
This slide boils the whole analogy down to its simplest form. AWS provides the hardware, right? The raw, centralized computing power you need to run the digital world. A platform like Earth 2, in this model, provides the place. It's the spatial fabric, a universal address system, where digital stuff can exist in a location-specific context.
And if you really want to get into the details, check this out. For pretty much every core service AWS offers, there's a spatial equivalent. So instead of AWS's compute instances, you've got these programmable spatial tiles. Instead of storing data in S3 buckets, you have data that's geotagged to virtual land. It's not about which one is better, it's about a totally different way of thinking to achieve the same basic functions.
Okay, so this is the big question, right? If this new kind of spatial infrastructure exists, what can you actually do with it? What kinds of new apps and new economies can you build on top of a digital world that's mapped to our own?
This is where you see the real potential. I mean, just like AWS hosts millions of web apps that are all tied to IP addresses, a spatial layer could host thousands of world services that are tied directly to GPS coordinates. Imagine a decentralized ride-sharing app where the logic and the rules are baked into the map itself, not controlled by a central server.
Let's see how this all stacks up from the ground floor. You start with the foundation, the substrate. That's the digital land itself. Then, on top of that, you can build application layers, like DAOs, which are basically community-run organizations that can set rules and manage economic activity. And the final outcome? The potential for brand new digital economies, on-chain economies, that can be directly linked to real-world locations and assets.
So, let's bring all these ideas together. When you kind of zoom out and look at the big picture, this whole comparison reveals a really fundamental shift in how we might build our digital future.
And this, right here, is really the core takeaway. AWS perfected the model of a centralized computational substrate, basically renting out processing power and storage. The vision for a platform like Earth 2 is to become a decentralized spatial substrate, a framework for owning and programming digital location itself.
And this leaves us with one final, massive question to think about. This isn't just about video games or some niche virtual world. This is a potential paradigm shift that could completely redefine digital ownership, how we tokenize assets, and the very way our physical and digital lives connect. What would you build on that foundation?